Alright, now I have to map out for the shear plates. Shear plates are the upper frame that follows the contour of the boat. They're different from the chine bottom because it gives the boat a different profile. The way the plans call for it, you're supposed to like draw it on paper, but you're also supposed to draw each one of the ribs on paper, but I did not. I did them on a piece of stuff's 1/8 inch like real high density, some kind of fiberboard, kind of paneling stuff. It's like $10 a sheet. So what I'm going to do is not map out the whole thing, just map out half and then flip over because it's identical. I'm going to and then basically just cut it and keep it as a template for later in case somebody ever decides they want one of these for whatever reason, sailboat, you know, tender, little kid's boat, or just some cool little flat bottom boat to putt around in, you know, shallow waters or whatever. It's just this being my first boat that I actually built from plans, somebody else's plans and not of my own, so it was kind of the easiest one to do that I found. And the cheapest. So with experimentation I wanted it to be cheap. So it's basically just like I did when I mapped out the locations on the bottom plywood. Just like it was mapped out here for the size of the bottom piece of plywood. This is how it is for the top, the shear plates. So I'll just go ahead and do that. You know, I don't need to tape that. So I made the template, traced it out, cut it for the shear logs, shear plates. Technically they'd be plates in this case. Basically it's the same as the chine, just up higher and has a different profile. Gives the boat more shapely design. So now we could just keep this for later reference. Shrink wrap it all together along with a set of laminated plans. If anybody decides they need a sailboat dinghy, we all have all the templates. So I made these two pieces here. I went a little hardcore with the screw. Made too big a hole. Screw them together. These are the outside transom kicks. So the transom is pre-drilled, countersunk from the other side, pre-drilled, countersunk from the bottom, pre-drilled all the way across. Got all our screws. I'm going to assemble the transom on here. I've cut 15-degree angle, which is what this is. I'm going to go ahead and get this in and get these kicks in. So but first, I'm going to sand all the lines off of it and make it pretty. Because the transom is planned to be stained. Alright, I sanded it. It's not perfect, but this piece here, this piece of plywood, was actually left over from an old shipping crate. Set outside. So, making use. And still undebated on whether or not it's going to be stained or painted. But I've notched out for the shear plates. I'm going to go ahead and get my jigsaw and cut them out. I got frame number 2, sanded, notched out to fit. All the holes are pre-drilled and countersunk on the bottom. I'm going to have to start from one side, this lower board. There's just a little bit of a bow in it, so I'll put a couple down there, put one in the middle, and then come over on this side, push it over. Now it takes these, the 1-inch ones that we've been using, go through the plywood and thinner stuff. And it calls for be 1 3/4 through the chine logs. So we got 2 and 2. But I have all the ribs, frames, whatever you want to call them, installed onto the transom. There's 3 frame sections, transom, the mid one, the front one. So they've been notched out. They're still going to need a little fine tuning once I put the sides on, but we'll get to that. Next thing to do is I still have yet to put the motor plate on the transom. And because I was hoping to cut that out of some scrap, so now that I got scrap, I can go ahead and do that. And then I also have the transom knee and the stem knee. As you can see, right there, there's the inside transom knee. I already did the outsides. Those are the outsides. This is done at a 2.5. Be 1.5 wood. Technically it's like a 2x10 it told me to buy, or 2x4, 2x10, 4 foot long. But and then the stem knee, once again it tells you to do this stuff on builder's paper. Never know, somebody might look at this, say, hey, I'd like to have one of those behind my big boat, or just, hey, I want one for whatever, just to troll around the creek, or love to have something like that for my kids on the lake. So I'm making, out of the 2 sheets of high density board, it's 1/8 inch stuff. It's like paneling. So it's like, it was cheap. It's $10 a sheet. I drew, it's upside down here. I don't know if you can see that. Can you? There you go. See, there's 2x2 squares on there. I drew out a 2x2 grid, just as it shows in the plans. Drew out the angles and everything, and then just filled in. I used my handy dandy circle lamp over there as my radiuses. So I'm going to cut these out, and they're labeled. I'm going to relabel them with my permanent marker as transom knee and stem knee. And I think that's it for little templates that need to be made. So when I go to when I'm done with the boat and I have all my templates, what I'm going to go ahead and do is urethane all my pieces so they don't get warped and stuff with moisture and stuff, and it'll preserve them, just because you never know. So I'm going to cut this out, we'll get to it. Okay, with both the transom knee and the stem knee cut, they're supposed to get cut out of I think that's 2x10. Yep, 2x10. Both the stem knee and the transom knee cut out of our template material. I got a piece of 2x10 here. It's just regular pine. Everything in this plan calls for just regular stuff you buy at a regular hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever. It only calls for 24 inches of this stuff, but they don't let you buy it like that. I had to buy like an 8-foot length of it, so at least I got extra for something down the line. So I'm gonna lay this stuff out on here. We'll trace it out. Alright, now that the stem knee is cut and it's notched out down here for the chine plates, this is where it's got to go. And this being the stem knee, this is the stem. Stem gets cut. The way it worked out was I think a 25, something close to it. So it needs a little more fine tuning, but it's getting there. And this is going to attach here, but before it goes here, it has to have a bevel put in it. I've already marked the lines, see, on both ends. It's 45 actually. I'm going to clamp this down and see if we can't get it cut.